Hi everyone. So this is investigation module of the CFE exam. So we are starting. So in chapter number 1, it's about planning and conducting a fraud examination. So under this chapter, we are going to see why we need to conduct the fraud examination. See, a fraud investigation examines the evidence to determine whether or not a fraud occurred, one, and how it occurred, and then who was involved and how much money was lost. So that is the reason of conducting fraud investigation. Investigation are conducted in various cases, like embezzlement, falsification of financial statements, and suspicious insurance claim. So these are the areas where we normally conduct a fraud examination. So what fraud examination entails? So there are four features that entails the fraud examination. One is obtaining evidence. Obtaining evidence. Second is reporting. Third is testifying to the finding. Testifying to the findings part of it. And fourth is assisting in fraud detection and prevention. So it's more about assisting in fraud detection and prevention. Okay. So fraud examination and forensic accounting. So here it is not the same discipline. So when we talk about fraud examination, forensic accounting. So when we talk about the forensic accounting, it is actually a litigation a support involving accounting. So that's what it is. It is more of a litigation supporting the accounting part. So forensic accountants perform assignments. They forensic accountants, what they do, they perform assignments related to computer forensics. Then they have electronic delivery. Then they deal with the bankruptcies, insolvencies, and reorganization part. They work on the workplace fraud investigation. They also work with the calculations part of it of economic losses. They also assist in the business valuation, and then the professional negligence part of it. So these are the areas where you could see the fraud examination and the forensic accounting offering their services. So fraud examination methodology, let's go with the methodology part. So one, they assume litigation will follow. The first thing is assumption. So the moment you have an investigation, it's assumed that there is a litigation that has to follow. Okay. Then they have an act on predication. So act on predication. So that means what? There are circumstances where the possibility of fraud exists. Third, you have an approach. So approach from two perspectives. One, either the fraud has occurred or not occurred. So you have to start with one of the approach. Either you are going to approach that there is a fraud happened or not happened. Okay. Then move from a general to a specific or a specific to general. So you have to move from a general to a specific. Usually order of interviews are as follows. Okay. So you are, let's go with the order of interviews, how you are going to interview the candidate part of it. So one, you are going to have a neutral third party witness. Neutral third party witness. So whenever you're conducting an interview part of it, you will be having starting with the least knowledgeable and moving to those who are more knowledgeable about the matters at the issue part. Second, the parties suspected. You are going to bring now parties suspected of the complexities and starting with the latest culpable and moving to the most culpable. And then third, the primary suspect of the examination, the primary suspect of the examination. So when we talk about the primary suspect, we are going to see this thing. And then you have the use of third party approach. So these are the three how you are going to conduct the order of the interview. And the fifth point of the previous methodology is fifth point in the methodology is using the fraud theory approach. So we have something called as fraud theory approach. So under this, what happens is you are going to make a hypothesis. You are going to make a hypothesis. So test not provided. So you are going to revise that. So you are going to analyze the available data. You are going to analyze the available data, and you are going to create. You are creating a the hypothesis, that is what if, through the what if analysis. Through the what if analysis. And then you are going to refine and amend your hypothesis. You are going to refine your hypothesis, or you are going to amend your hypothesis part. So this is how you need to conduct the fraud examination, or the methodology of conducting the fraud exam. Then we have to develop the fraud response plan. So in the fraud response plan, when we talk about, so first of all, when we talk about a fraud response plan, so we are talking about outlining the actions that members of an organization will take when suspicions of fraud have arisen. So we are trying to create an outline. Okay, because every fraud is different. So hence, the response plan should not outline how a fraud examination should be conducted. Instead, it should help organizations manage their responses and create a kind of an environment to minimize the risk. Minimize the risk part of it. Okay, minimize the risk and maximize the potential for success. So how you can do two things. One, consistent, and be comprehensive. Okay, and then after that you need to guide the management part with an action which is very simple, with an action which is simple. So let's go with what are the activities that they are going to take into consideration. One, reporting protocols. Reporting protocols. Reporting protocols. So here we are talking about, we are going to notify immediately escalations, whom to escalate, should provide multiple channels, and so on. Second thing is a response team. We need to set up a response team. So here we are talking about legal management, so fraud examiners who are there, then the council part, then you have internal auditors, audit committees, the C-level meetings, but the IT, HR, so all the people who are a part of the response team. And then we are talking about the factors that are used to determine the course of action. So here, is it require formal investigation factors or not? Okay, we are going to, that depends upon the one, credibility, incident, allegation, purpose, impact, court. Next, the fourth one, litigation, hold procedure. Okay, so here we are referring to notifying the employees to suspend the destruction of the potentially relevant record. So we are informing them not to resume, or the possibility of they fiddling with the evidence, or destroying the records, or deleting the records that will be there. So hence, to maintain the integrity, state, scope, how, what, suspend any deletion programs. So next is, fifth one is principles. So principles for documenting. So documenting the response plan. So all information, each phase, every phase that we are going to do during the investigation, further decisions, everything has to be properly documented. Okay. And then a fraud incident report. A fraud incident report. A fraud incident report log. So here what is happening is how the organization is aware of it, the data that they have, the nature, the department, the employees, and the actions that have been taken. So everything will be a part of the report. Let's go to the next slide. So here we are talking about initial response to suspicion or allegation of frauds. So first thing is you need to respond very quickly. So whenever you have these kind of things, the response team should respond quickly. So the moment you see any failure to do so could result into litigations, enhanced penalties, enforcement actions by the government legislations or regulators. So hence the organization should always have a response team which should act very quickly. So under this, what is the approach? One, you are going to activate the response team. You are going to activate the response team. You question them, they start the formal investigation, the inquiry part of it. Okay, then you are going to have a formal investigation. Formal investigation, and then you are going to it might lead to probably police, legal, external supports, reports, audit committees, everything. And the second thing that you are going to do is you are going to engage a legal counsel. You are going to engage a legal counsel. Then you are going to consider the third point under this is you are going to consider contacting the insurance providers, because there is a loss happened due to the fraud and everything. We are going to check whether it is covered by the insurance or not. And then you are going to address the immediate concern which is resulting due to the result of the fraud. Immediate concern. And then you are going to preserve the relevant documents. You are going to preserve the relevant documents. Then you are going to identify what you are going to identify. You are going to identify who should be informed first, right? You need to know the basis. And then you are going to conduct initial assessment. Conduct initial assessment. So here we are going to determine the appropriate response, quick action in 3 days, the fraud occurred, status, potential claim, everything you are going to do an initial assessment. Then you are going to understand what you are going to understand the context of the fraud and all those things. You are going to understand the context. Then you are going to review. You are going to review any applicable policies and procedures of the company part. Then you are going to do the investigation. Investigate the allegations, the limited to the facts finding analysis, like you are going to see so here in the investigation you are going to do one, contacting the source who has given you the tip or to start with, and then you are going to interviewing will be there in the next step. Then you are going to review the key evidences which are a part of the case, and then last you are going to document. You are going to document. You are going to document the reasons for the decisions if no further investigation is required, or you are going to document the investigated areas part. Then planning and conducting in planning and conducting formal investigation. So here when we talk about you are going to talk about completing engagement letters. So once you have been hired by the company, the organization, you need to first complete the engagement letter. The engagement letter is very important, because in this letter you are going to be told what is the purpose of you being hired, right? So it's a contract, a long form and short form. You both have. Long form is more of spell out the details of what examination techniques the fraud examiner intend to follow, while the short is doesn't have that. So in the engagement letter, what you are going to have, there will be an opening, there will be a body, there will be a terms, what exactly it is. Then you will be having indemnity clause where to protect the CFE in case if he's sued, and legal expense coverage and all those things, like in case signed and returned and all those things. And this is the first step. The engagement letter is the first step. Then the second step is more about issuing. What you are going to issue? Issuing advisory letters. Advisory letters. So when you issue, what it conveys information intended for the purpose of the to inform or state an opinion about an issue related to the client or member base. And then third, we are talking about assembling. What you are trying to create a team, assembling the fraud team, because they are the ones who are going to help you in identifying the needed skills and potential issues. Then you will have under this, you need to see in the assembling part of it, you have 7 common common types of professionals. So we can say, like, you have legal guys who are professional, management, you have professional CFE is there, then the C council is there, then you have internal auditors are there, then audit committee is there, C level corporate this thing is there, IT is there, HR is there, then you have DA is there, industrial specialists are there, securities for field work and forensic. And do's and don'ts of selecting the team members are very important, because they are going to help you in identify the investigation leader. So out of one of the person will be acting as an investigation leader. Okay, investigation leader. So then in the fourth one, you are going to see learning. You learn about the organization, learning about the organization. Then fifth one, you are talking about developing an investigation. You try to develop an investigation. Okay, so under you are going to develop an investigation plan, right? Without the plan, you are not going to execute, right? Ongoing, not at a one time. So here, the people who are responsible, who are going to understand the goal, purpose of the investigation, to be informed on time, the laws, rules, issues, as in actions, everything will be the, what are the kind of resources that you will be needing it. You are going to review what is known and gain a basic understanding of the key issues part. So here in this plan itself, we are going to create a period, the timeline, okay, in which you are supposed to finish your investigation. But the nature, the contact, the target, what is the target is, what is the issues, which department they are connected with, issues, culture, the sites part, background, industry, profit, is it profitability or not, is it growth, is it fraud policies. So they are going to see everything will be mentioned here in the review part. And then you are going to define what you are going to define. You are going to define the goal of investigation. Okay, that's what the goal has to be smart. It's to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Okay, so it helps you to prevent further losses, ongoing conduct, recovery losses, secure evidences for strengthen the future responses, promote an anti-fraud culture in the organization. Okay, so you need to identify whom to keep informed, determine the scope of the investigation, you need to establish the investigation from time frame. So here you are also addressing the need for the law enforcement. Probably you, if the fraud is serious, then you might need to even call the police. So you need to define the member roles. You need to define the members' roles and assign tasks. The team's authority levels, responsibility for action, and reporting lines should be defined. During the planning process, management should designate a primary contact person with whom the team can communicate on all matters that arise during the investigation. It is essential that the team reports to someone who will take action in pursuant to the investigation findings. So here you need to even address the operational findings as well, operational issues. You need to address the operational issues, operational issues. Okay, and you need to gather the facts about, you need to even gather Facts around, right? You need to gather the facts around. So, record keeping practices abroad, record content and format differences, language translations, cultural differences, international data privacy issues, differing conception of privacy and discovery, immigration regulations, safety concerns, especially for global assignments, personal data protection law, outline the course of action. The case plan can encompass matters such as the scope of investigation, the goal of investigation, the time parameters. So all the things will be a part of your planning and conducting the formal examination investigation. So resources that are needed, the task assignments, the task assignment, that's a part of your investigation part, the task, whom you are going to assign the task, and what is the role and all those, and the overall approach to conduct the investigation part. You need to create an outline in this process. Okay, smaller, more manageable components. So there are many ways to organize an investigation component. So if we talk about how to organize in a following way, so number one, you can by functional areas, you can see you can do this on the base of the in the functional areas. To by team members, and three is hierarchically. So it is helpful to prepare a to-do list or checklist for an investigation part. So you need to adapt to the necessary resources. When we talk about necessary resources, what are the necessary resources in this planning? In the necessary resources, we are talking about outside specialist. You might be needing that outside specialist, or we say case management softwares. There are softwares that are available, case management softwares. Then you also have the digital forensic tools. Digital forensic tools like you have NKs or forensic toolkits and other things. Then you have access to commercial database. The access to the database part, that is the commercial database. Then who will be involved? Who's and all those who will be involved, and you need to notify whom to notify the key people, the decision makers and the organization house. So in general, it is not a good practice to alert all organization employees. So it's only the few who need to be informed and kept kind of like. So what is the structure of the investigation to preserve the confidentiality? So first thing, like we just discussed, that you need to avoid alerting everyone. You need to avoid alerting everyone, or alerting the especially the suspected offender or fraudster. Okay, so because some basic measures organized and fraud examiners can take to avoid notifying suspected perpetrators who are under investigation, because if they know, they might modify the evidences, delete, they can do anything to take advantage of it. So it is very important, and know who is being investigated and what they can access. Limit the extent of their discussion part. Only inform those who need to know. Okay, so you need to only inform those people who need to know. There's a difference between whom to know and whom need to know. Okay, and inform employees of the consequences of the confidentiality breach, and then work discreetly without disrupting the office normal course of business. So that means no one should be known that you are carrying on the investigation part of it. You need to work very fast. You need to work fast, and then investigate during the non-business hours. So finally, if the suspect is alerted, what happens? Management should adjust the investigation and its timeline accordingly. This might mean interviewing the fraudster out of the sequence from a normal investigation part, and request participants confidentiality. Generally, an employer can ask employees to keep an investigation confidentiality when there are legitimate business justifications. So you might ask them to maintain confidence so that there is no kind of fear among the employees part. So you need to guard the case information from IT, manual intervention of the theft as in the CISA. So consider implementing any applicable evidentiary privileges or protections. So these privileges protect the communication between a professional legal advisor and his clients, and in some situations, fraud investigators or fraud investigations can be structured so that they are afforded protection under such privileges. So generally, to receive protection under a legal professional privilege, as an investigation must be conducted at the direction of or under the supervision of a legal professional. So this brings us to the end of this chapter number 1. So in the next chapter, we are going to check and analyze the documents. I'll see you all in the next chapter.